What if I told you that there were 5 simple cheat codes that you could apply that 10x your chances of landing your dream product management role? Well, after speaking to 5,000 product managers and coaching 1,000 of them, I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 cheat sheets that could blow up your success in your product management job search overnight. But first, I've got a secret to share. There is a lot of BS out there about people just trying to make things seem way more complicated than they actually are, so that they can try to increase their own following. The ability to target and land a desired role is the single greatest career acceleration skill that you can ever acquire. And in today's video, I'm going to give you that skill, which brings us to point number 1. Look, to understand it, you must know that I've been coaching product managers for 8 years. But up until about 3 years ago, no one had heard of me. However, I've helped product managers get into Google, Amazon, Meta, and whatnot. And every day you hear from product manager influencers that either I or my team have coached. And this is what I've learned, and this, without a shadow of a doubt, is the tip of the spear. It doesn't matter if your resume is solid, if you have the best interview answers, if you get this one thing wrong. Look, every single day people reach out to me and they say, hey, I've got 10 years of product management experience. Do you think you can fine tune my interviews so that I can land my dream role? If I just knew how to talk about my years of experience, my chances would be golden. And the thing is that all of these people think that they have a problem when they don't, because years of experience are a commodity. Hiring managers can always find product managers with X years of experience. They can keep increasing that number in the job posting that says 5, 10, or 15 years of product management experience. But then they end up hiring someone with way less experience. They don't have a need for someone with X years of experience, because sometimes more experience just means more bad habits learned. No. Instead, they have a problem to solve and they need someone to solve it. And that's because most candidates don't have what I call an irresistible angle of mastery positioning, where you show this to the right hiring manager and they just line up to interview you because you've solved exactly the problems they need solving. Let's compare 2 candidates and their core pitches. Candidate A. I'm a highly experienced product leader with 15 years of experience in B2B software applications. Now let's compare it with candidate B. Look, I've understood where your company is, the stage of the product you have. I can anticipate the problems you have and you're about to have. Here they are. Now you describe the core problems. Then you say, look, I've already solved these 5 times. Here are 3 instances where I would have solved. Did you see the difference between candidate A with like 15 years of experience and candidate B, who's like, I can solve the exact problem you have and what you're about to have? Here's the most important thing, and you should write this down and even put it in the comments. People want problems solved. No amount of resume optimization, keyword stuffing can solve the right fit problem, which is point number 1. The irresistible angle of mastery trumps everything else. Which brings us to point number 2. Look, every day people sit on LinkedIn just talking about ATS, algorithms, because these geeks think that all you need to do is to have the most up-to-date, bleeding-edge keywords and stuff on your resume, and that all of your problems in your career will just miraculously fall away, disappear. And you can't go online without seeing some of these people posting some screenshots of a resume where a client got like X more interviews. What they don't tell you is that those interviews are for exactly the kind of jobs that they have already had. These candidates are now going to repeat the same job at a different company. They always pretend like there's some ninja little tactic that they've got, and that is the reason that you don't have the success and you want in your career, and nothing could be further from the truth. You do not want to obsess about the application tracking system. You want to obsess about people, because algorithms change and people don't. The person who views your resume is the person over whom you want to obsess. What's the problem that they've got? What's keeping them up at night at 3 a.m., tossing and turning, unable to sleep in a cold sweat? What are the problems that they've got that you have the specific solution to. The person that can showcase an understanding of the problems and position themselves as an obvious solution in the most visceral detail is the one who wins. This is point number 2. Focus on psychology and not technology. Which brings us to point number 3. This is where I see 9 out of 10 people get it wrong, and it's the first thing that me and my team correct on any of their approaches. When it comes to jobs, the biggest sin that I've seen people commit is that they're not clear on what they want from the next job. And you might think, dude, what's so hard? I want everything. No. Just like any product, this new job has trade-offs. You have to determine what exactly you want and how much you value it ahead of time. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, what I mean is you could optimize for compensation, unpredictable upside or stock options, brand, manager, work-life balance, learning a new field, culture, whatnot. There's many other things. Location, everything's there. You cannot say, this is my ideal job, I want everything, and then leave the decision to the end. Because if you do that, you will apply to countless roles that will never be a fit for you. You need what I call a pre-committed job filter, where you can quickly determine if this is job type A, B, or C. A are your dream roles. B's are maybe, I'll evaluate, and C's are no way. Let me just skip this, let me not waste my time. And the formula for doing this calculation is something you need to determine way up front. And that's point number 3. Filter up front. Don't leave your decisions to the end. Which brings us to point number 4. If I asked you to sit down and start applying for jobs, what would be the first thing that you would do? If you're like most people, you'd sit down and be like, okay, I'd look for some jobs on LinkedIn with some filters, write a cover letter, customize my resume, and then hit submit. And truth be told, it took me way longer than I would like to admit to learn this next lesson. When talking about applying for jobs on something like LinkedIn or Indeed, the odds are stacked against you because there's 1,000, 2,000 more people applying for the job and 10 to 20 people who can do the job very well. And as soon as the recruiter and the hiring manager sees another Me Too message, their eyes glaze over. They hate this activity, right? Like they hate the activity of looking through all the resumes, which is why, if you remember earlier, candidate number B, that pitch was so much more powerful. Let's take a different example. Think of the last video you watched or last ad that you clicked on. What was the formula for it? Hey, if you're enjoying this content so far, make sure you hit the like and subscribe so that you get more content like this and not just more cat videos. There were 2 things. Number 1 is what we call intentional intrigue, something unique that just stood out right away. Number 2 was problem solution match. There was something click-worthy at the end. So when it comes to applying for jobs, I look at it through 2 lenses. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine, and everything is a pattern in the universe. There's the circadian rhythm, which is a pattern, which determines your sleep, awake cycle. You've got the tides, the ebb and flow, and the human brain is only really forced to pay attention to things that are going to be of threat to them. If they're just going through their normal pattern and there's nothing that's interrupted them, then it's like a sleepwalking zombie. And a way to interrupt that pattern is to use things that are weird and unusual and not like they would typically see. Because by definition, if it's weird, it's different, they can't match that to a pattern. You need to learn from the world of marketing and advertising to figure out how to really stand out in your job applications. Then you have what we call a pattern match. And this is something that can be a benefit. If someone is looking for something, let's say with someone with financial services experience, and that's something that matches their current pattern, it's way more than that. So make sure whenever you're putting your applications out there and how you tell them about yourself, they fall into these 2 distinct categories, which is step number 4. Don't make your applications look like everyone else's. Which brings us to the 5th and final point. In every market, there is a bullseye that when you hit, you will land countless interviews, multiple offers, and more money than you ever thought. And it doesn't matter if you hit that bullseye, like with anything, with the rubber mallet, with a rifle, all that matters is you hit it. So most product management job candidates are just used to the standard way of applying. They sit down and they think about, this is all my experience, let me apply to a job as close as possible. Then they go out there and they just scream it from the top of the roof to anyone who would listen. I have 15 years of experience. And they scream and they scream and they scream until they lose their voice. And it's a very hard life. And they might apply to hundreds of jobs and get very exhausted by doing this. I'm exhausted just saying this. So they believe that they are chained to the way that they think about their experience, and that they do not need to change the lens of how they talk about it. What they don't realize is that if they fundamentally change their positioning and what we call career positioning narrative to hit the bullseye of the market, everything that they do as a job seeker will be 10 times more effective. And in order to learn to be effective at that, you have to ensure that someone other than you who knows this stuff can give you feedback on it. Find the bullseye of your market, and when you find it, put your foot to the floor like you're in a car and go. I hope these cheat codes help you land your dream role quickly and effectively. Now, if you like this video so far, I'm sure you're looking for your dream role. In this next video, I would describe exactly tactically what I would do if I was searching for this job right now in 2024. Make sure you watch it.